You know, I've been doing this YouTube thing for a while now. Not successfully, mind you, but I have been doing it a while. My first video was in September 5th, 2014, a modspective of Torchlight 2. During my 10 years, I've reviewed big games like Persona 5 and Nier Automata, and small gems that you would expect for someone who is most known for his overlooked game series. So, it would have been nice if the next review after my 10-year anniversary on YouTube would have been something special. The next review probably will be. That's Keylocker, most likely given the quality of Virgo vs. the Zodiac, considering I haven't played the game yet. But sadly, it is not the one. The next review is this one, Squirrel with a Gun. And well, let me just get this out of the way. No, absolutely not. Look, I play a ton of different games on this channel, and have played a lot of wonderful games that have nowhere near the positive reviews that Squirrel with a Gun has, which came out on August 29th, 2024 for the price of $19.99. It's available on the PC, specifically Steam, and people have compared it to games like Goat Simulator, which I'm going to be frank, is an insult to Goat Simulator, at least in my opinion. And this may sound weird for someone who typically is rather positive in his criticism, even for games he doesn't recommend in the end. Sure, I'm critical, but I usually am the guy who has the review scoring system that matches a game to you. Of course there's going to be an audience for it somewhere, right? Right? Look, let's just get into it. Squirrel with a Gun has you taking the titular squirrel, waking up in what I can only assume is an FBI facility with the weirdest locking system known to man. After playing throw the broken metal piece against the wall for some reason, you unlock the door only for a federal agent to come in and promptly trip over the broken floor and drop his gun on the ground. Yep, the game is going to hit its namesake in the first 15 minutes of the game, and that's fine, which you would hope would start a wonderful open world experience in the style of something like Goat Simulator, the Upturned, sort of kind of, or even a Gary's Mod map. I'm here to warn you that it's not. Not even close. Look, I'm going to start this review with a disclosure that I think is important, because despite my want to keep as objective as possible during the review process, I can't ignore the effect that this specific gameplay and what happened had on me during the review process. Now, I wasn't exactly doing well during the playthrough outside of the game. Yeah, work was a bit stressful and there's a lot going on in real life, but usually I'm able to isolate that. But here's the thing. During the slog of this game, forcing myself through it, there was a series of events that happened. A series of events that absolutely twisted my opinion of this game to the point where I don't think it could be recovered. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. In a 10-minute sequence, I experienced game-breaking bug after game-breaking bug. Now look, I walked into the game thinking it was going to not be the most polished of games. Hell, part of its appeal was its quirky nature and some of the ragdolling I saw. It is an indie game. It's going to have some elements to it where they're a little bit goofy, a little bit not necessarily glitchy all the time, but it has its quirks. But okay, let's go through the events that happened here. First, this happened. Okay, fine. I fell through the map. It happens in a lot of other games, and I'm known as the Grand Duke of Glitches after all. Hell, next year I'll have a bug counter on my Twitch streams because I run into bugs so often because I play games day one and I have a tendency to break things. Okay, but I'm driving the car under the earth and I'm not moving. Great, well maybe I could bail out of it. Okay, now I'm falling more. Falling so deeply in the world. Oh, and I reset. Great. I could try going up this tower that I was trying to go up at first in the first place. All right, so I'm going to call my car and... Oh, I can't. It's too close to me. You know, the car. The car that's underground right now. Undrivable, under the earth. I'm too close to call it to my position. The one I can't get to. You see my problem with this here? But, okay, fine. I will run over and find another car to respawn. Now, granted, this has been within 5 minutes of each other, these two game-breaking bugs, but fine. I'll just go and get it. 2 minutes later, I try getting up the tower again, fall because I don't have enough speed, bail out, and... Am I stuck? Am I stuck in the wall of the tower? Can I not move? Are you freaking serious, game? This is the third breaking bug in 10 minutes. This was my experience with Squirrel with a gun in more ways than one. And look, I can handle some glitches and some awkward gameplay, but when it's literally getting in the way this quickly, minute by minute, it's going to tilt my experience in a way that I can't come back from. Now, some of you may say, well, that means the game is bad, right? I mean, why not just say that? Well, yes, I do think that's the case, but I can't say that this would be the normal sequence for most players. Up to that point, I definitely had bugs and glitches, but nothing this bad in succession. And after this point, every frustration from the game was enhanced to 100. I was heated, and it wasn't going away. So, to say that this review is 100% fair, despite being 100% representative of my experience, I'm not willing to guarantee that. With that said, I still have a lot of problems with the gameplay overall beyond these specific sequences of bugs, and let me start to go into them. Overall, Squirrel with a Gun is a mission-based game that has areas where you can collect acorns, which are the equivalent of your Super Mario stars, along with regular acorns that act as coins, which can regenerate some of your health as well. These can be used to unlock power-ups in the map, which will release when you get specific items for the first time, such as a gun, or even unlock a car that's seemingly absolutely needed to move around the big-ass map at times. Now, as you go into areas, you will find missions, or you can go up a flagpole in the area that will sort of highlight the missions around you and what you can do, although not specifically what you do need to do. Now, I do have to mention that the UI in this case is a little bit weird. It just feels unfinished. It feels unpolished. It's just take a look at it. The mission variety is where Squirrel with a Gun gets rather strange. Now, see the title, Squirrel with a Gun. You'd think that the most interesting and fun missions would be the ones with the guns in them, right? And that's 90% not the case. Most of the more interesting and fun missions are the ones that are outside the box and have nothing to do with shooting. Like having to navigate a minefield from a paranoid redneck and getting blasted around in a bomb suit. That's goofy and fun and was something that I liked. Or the mission where you have to avoid a bunch of football players, score a touchdown. You do get a grenade launcher as a reward for that one, but you don't actually have to use it to get the actual acorn. But when the game goes off the rails per se, it can get fun. Sometimes. But the shooting mechanics and the actual gameplay feel so rigid and not satisfying to use. Like, here's the thing. I can deal with jank and even some weird effects of shooting, like with massive recoil, that would actually have given the game some personality and would have made sense for the game in a whole. The fact is, it is a squirrel. It does have some kickback here, but not to the kickback that you would expect for a squirrel firing a gun. I'm not saying that you need realism, but that sort of, over-the-top recoil, knocking him back 5 or 10 feet would have been hilarious. Instead, everything just feels so bleh. Having to hit several shots to knock out an enemy is one thing, especially when it takes so long to take the next shot at times, at least in terms of guns. But maybe I was just hoping for some more chaos here. It feels very fundamental when it comes to shooting mechanics in a game that was going for over the top. That does change slightly when you get more explosive weapons like the rocket launcher and get understanding of movement abilities related to gunplay, like with rocket jumping. But that came after several hours of just not really doing it for me gameplay that I feel like I just want to go and play Red Faction Armageddon or Just Cause instead. But what really ended up causing me to really hate the game was how tedious at times it felt to play, and how simple fixes, or even some more insight about what would happen in various scenarios, were considered before releasing this game onto the world. Let me give you an example. So at this part of the game, I have to open this tower. To open it, I have to knock 5 switches, and these switches don't go unless you fall from a significant height in order to hit them. I mean, you are a little squirrel, you can't just, tap it and hope that the button will actually activate. So okay, I need to figure out how to get the right height in order to activate them. At some point, you run across these helium tanks, and realize you can put them into these stations to blow the inflatables into the sky. So okay, that allows me to get to certain things, but gosh darn it, I fell from this one while trying to get to the next part of the sky. So okay, let me try to... Wait, how do I get back up there? Yeah, good luck. It's not that easy. There is another bouncy castle on the other side, and you can try to get over to where the new bouncy castle in the sky is, but it's not that easy. It's actually easier to just stop the game, restart, and put the helium tank back in because, well, it's just easier to, ride the bouncy castle up. That's a theme of the game, is that it is much more difficult than it should be to do a lot of things. Now, granted, there are certain things that the game does to help you out at times. Those helium tanks, for example, once you find it for the first time, when you respawn in the world, it will actually spawn the actual helium tank near the place that you need it, which was appreciated because one of them is at the bottom of a hole and you have to go down the hole the entire time. It would have gotten annoying. So there are certain shortcuts that the game takes in certain areas, but in others, not so much. There's also some elements in terms of combat that are just annoying, and that really comes into play in terms of certain boss fights. For example, this is one of the first boss fights of the game, Father. Don't know whose father it is. It doesn't explain it for a good while, if it does explain it. But regardless, never mind, that's not important. What's important is the fight. First, you have to disable the treads with those green circles you saw on the treads there on the tank. Which, okay, picking up a shotgun, not exactly the best option considering it's got 2 shots and doesn't exactly have a wide berth in terms of the shot. I probably should have gotten an Uzi, but there's only certain areas where the Uzi is here. Okay, it's annoying to be able to destroy all the treads, but fine. That's something that's going to come into play. Also, the physics, as you can see there, can work a little bit wonky as the tank somehow got stuck on a person and then popped up a little bit. But once I would be able to destroy the treads, I have 40 seconds to be able to disable the shield on the top, which this is where I start to have a little bit of problem. Okay, it backs up to a point where I have to go and actually run to the other side, taking 12 seconds out. Then I'm going to be able to shoot here. Oh, God. Yes, the auto aim couldn't decide which one it was going to be able to aim at, and therefore I was actually literally shaking. Another problem. But okay, finally, broke the shield. There's 12 seconds left. That's not a lot of time to do things, especially with the camera and not necessarily having the ammo to be able to jump up. And lo and behold, I'm finally able to get there, and then, wait, what am I supposed to... Oh, wait, he just knocked me off. Yep, I'm knocked off. I didn't get the chance to attack, and now I may have to do it all again. Well, technically, I don't, because the shield's down. I just have to get back onto the tank, which... The fact is, I'm like, okay, did I need to do that? Do I need to shoot the treads before I'm able to do that, or will it just knock me off again? You see the problem here? some of the information that you learn in the fight, because it's so quick or it is not very informative, you're wondering exactly what to do in a lot of cases. In more than just this boss fight, in general, you are trying to puzzle solve at times, and a good amount of the time it doesn't work because you just don't have a lot of information to go off of. Funnily enough, I didn't even know how to damage him until I accidentally jumped over him and then damaged him with the port open. And the thing is that it doesn't make a lot of sense that you would do that. But then I finally noticed the explosives on the back, which is what I feel like the game should have pointed us to. It should have made it clear. Why is there explosives on the back? It doesn't make a lot of sense, honestly, but in the video game logic, it's there because you need it. The thing I want to emphasize here is that the gameplay feels like it could have been something special with a little bit more polish and a little bit more creativity in terms of the use of some of the mechanics, and it just ran out of time. Some of the level designs feels haphazard. It does block you off at certain points with these sort of like red walls in terms of an area when you don't have the right item or element, and it feels lazy in that case in terms of how they walled it off. And there's a couple of elements here that make me feel like, given enough time and given enough resources, the game could have really taken the idea and took it to 11, which is something that the game needed for the premise in question. The fact of the matter is, the chaos and the absurdity of Squirrel with a gun would have been that. The absurdity, the absolute chaos that could be caused from it. That's what I got from the initial trailers, and I just didn't feel it here. I guess there was also some bad expectations for me, because when I saw some of the trailers and some of the footage that was shown, I was expecting an absurd game, also playing off an absurd humor element to it. And it never really does that. Granted, there's one or two places where they obviously play to it, but for the most part, it's just what happens in game is supposed to be the absurdity, and it doesn't necessarily play it for humor. It plays it a little bit more straight, at least in my opinion. Like, this person just died here. Somehow. I ran into them, they fell over, and then they just died? I expected that to be a little bit more humorous in terms of, okay, maybe it just gets launched up into the air. But that almost felt like a bug. And that's part of my problem. I didn't know whether I should be laughing at the game or with the game when some of these things happened. And it was more than just the gameplay that was sort of driving me crazy by the hour 5, hour 6 mark. The fact is that the same battle music for any time you have an encounter started to get really, really repetitive. And it almost drove me insane. It's not that the music is bad, but without any variation and for it to be happening in almost every situation, yeah, it started to wear on me. Now, even some of the more cringe-worthy music at least had some life to it in terms of what they were trying to do, like that tank battle that I showed you earlier, but I don't even think the music is reasonable to sort of point out in terms of its own section of the video, nor the sound design. The sound design is fine. It does have some oomph in terms of some of the shots. The explosives lack a little bit of, oomph in terms of their explosiveness, but it was fine. The music was fine. The visuals, there are times where the visuals do start to wear on me, especially like when you see the house with the lava in it. It just feels like haphazard and put together, like, you got it out of an asset pack, which is perfectly fine. Don't get me wrong, it's perfectly fine, but there's some weird non-cohesion with some of the elements in this game, like they're coming from two different places. Normally I talk about the story of a game, and the fact is, there's supposedly a story in this game? I mean, you come across father and mother, but there's no context for it. There are agents coming after you, but it doesn't really explain it. A lot of the storytelling is just within the missions themselves, like trying to explode a grill for no reason, or the football for no reason. In fact, there is not really any story in terms of this game, which is not something I truly expected, but I'm sort of... There was some opportunity for it here, and it just never presented itself. Now, the reason why I don't want to focus on those sections is that, in my mind, with this game, it doesn't matter. It all comes down to the gameplay. The gameplay is what drives this game. It's not the presentation, it's not the music, it's the gameplay. And to me, the gameplay is lacking in so many different areas that I just don't know why anyone would buy this over Upturned, over Goat Simulator. Hell, downloading Gary's mod for the 200th time and playing a weird map in there, or playing with, the Half-Life gravity gun. It's just, the game doesn't have any unique element to it that really makes me want to play it more. And I understand, it's a squirrel with a gun. It just isn't that fun. As I wrap this review up, I want to make something clear. I have no problems with the developers of Squirrel with a Gun, or for the people who like Squirrel with a Gun. The fact of the matter is, it's a meme game. The potential was seen in terms of its memes on Twitter and all the GIFs that were being shared, and the developer and the publisher capitalized on that. That's fine. And if there's an audience for it, so be it. But the thing that frustrates me, and the reason why this review probably took a week and a half longer than most reviews that I do in terms of being able to complete it, is I just didn't want to play the game anymore. Part of that was the bugs that I ran into, but a good amount of it was just the design. It was tedious. It was monotonous. It was doing the same things over and over again. And even when the game was clever in terms of some of its mechanics, it almost was like, well, we're clever, but only clever in certain ways. If you try something a little bit too outside the box, nah, we're not going to allow it. Maybe I'm just getting old and not understanding the people who want to play these games. I've been playing games since I was 7 or 8. I played the Game Boy in a sidecar on a motorcycle for the first time and have loved games ever since. And I sit here, look at a game like Never Awake, a game that is fantastic, different, interesting in all the right ways, a game that I will shout from the rooftops that somebody should play and you should buy right now and play. And then I look at a game like Squirrel with a Gun, and I just wonder, why? Why? Why would you play this over a game like that? Yes, genres matter, gameplay matters, personal likes matter, but even then, I sit there going, why? And why would you do it at the same price of $20? This game, I'm sorry, I may piss off some people, I may piss off a lot of people, but it's just not worth it. It gets a 25 out of 100. It isn't worth a buy, even on sale. That doesn't take into account my enhancer system, which tries to take the more subjective element of games and tries to match a game to you. If you fall into one of the following categories on screen, add or subtract that score to the main score. If the first digit of your score changes, refer to this chart. Listen. I can't see a situation where you would do this. Yes, even with the meme enhancer that I'm putting on here, I'm sitting here going, is it really worth buying other than just, watching it on YouTube? Like, look, watch other reviews. It's obvious that I am biased with what I experienced with this game, but I hope I represent the more critical elements of the gameplay experience in this review. And so, I leave you with that. If you've made it this far into the review, I apologize for my ranting. I apologize for, well, basically going on a 24-minute rant in terms of a review. I know that is popular. I know that may be successful in certain ways, but it's just, It's not the type of review that I like to make. Luckily, the next review, which should be next week, is one that I've been looking forward to because as I finish this review, a certain review copy has appeared in my inbox. Keylocker. Those who know my love for Virgo versus the Zodiac, and those who know the developer Munana, know that I've been looking forward to this. I've been salivating over the chance to review this game. I took 3 days off just to play and review this game so that it's out by, well, release date. Yeah, I'm going to be playing a lot of that game, and hopefully washing the taste of Squirrel with a gun out of the mouth. Anyway, that's it. If you like this video, well, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more videos that are not like this, because I'm not usually this negative. If you want more information about why I hated this game, join the Discord. It's in the description below. And if you don't like my take, that's fine. That's why there's opinions. And even with the objective scoring system of this game, there's still opinions. Anyway, that's it for now. And as always, keep on gaming. Just choose the right games.